it's good to keep them motivated towards that goal when, like you said, when things get tough and we want to give up. But also just having and visualizing, there's a lot of power in visualization to help, connect the dots somehow in the universe when you're working towards a goal. So,
Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more months than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however, emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident. Good day and welcome to Give a Heck. On today's show, I welcome Ryan Mellon. Ryan transitioned from working two demanding jobs, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, to living a life of freedom and adventure. Now he spends 6 months of the year traveling, working on his own schedule, and building multiple businesses while working from 23 US states and 23 countries and still counting. Ryan is currently based in Bali. He offers one-on-one coaching, helping others design their dreams lives by achieving location independence. I'd like to welcome you to the show, Ryan. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and share with us some of your life journey.
thanks so much for having me. Really excited to have the conversation today.
Yeah, I am too. As before we hit record, as I mentioned, for those listeners that have been with me for a long time, I've had only one person on in regards. I've had multiple guests on in regards to other subjects. I've only had one on in regards to being a digital nomad. And when I seen Ryan's request to wanting to be on the show, I was intrigued. And when I researched more, this guy is going to, if you're really interested in learning about the lifestyle of a digital nomad and how you can start, how you can succeed, how you can excel, I think Ryan's going to be that person for you. I'm excited to learn things that I'm not even sure about, even though I have a good friend that's a digital nomad, and there are quite a few actually that are digital nomads. So let's get at it, Ryan. One of the things I like focusing on at the Give a Heck podcast is a person's origin story. Basically rewinding that clock, going back to your earliest recollections of why, things happened the way they did. A lot of people I found that are successful can literally tie things back to their earlier years, right? All the way back to grade school, college, high school, whatever you feel like sharing. I'd appreciate it if you could share, the good, bad, and indifferent, the exciting, whatever you would like to share that got you where you are today.
Yeah. Well, I'll take you back to high school. I was a high school dropout. I dropped out my 12th grade year. Always hated just the being in the institution and always having to report to somebody and follow by everyone else's rules. And I dropped out of high school and I just went straight into working. I worked fast food and I worked for UPS, two jobs for 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for over a decade, all of my 20s. And it was grueling, but I was just happy to be done with school and working. And I bought my own house and started doing a little bit of traveling here and there. But after a while, I really realized that I just went from like one institution of school to now working two different jobs with two different bosses and still having to play by their rules and be there on certain days and times and all that. And I really just wanted more freedom in my life. So about 2016, I booked a solo trip to Costa Rica by myself. This was inspired by reading The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss and Vagabonding by Rolf Potts. Really inspired me to do a solo travel trip, just get out there and try it. So I got both my jobs to agree to 2 weeks off at the same time, which was a huge negotiation. And I got on a plane. I went to Costa Rica all by myself, didn't speak any Spanish at the time, didn't really have any game planned. I booked my first stay in a hostel. I had never stayed in a hostel in my life. And I met some of the most amazing people and other solo travelers. Had just such a great adventure for those 2 weeks all over Costa Rica on both the Pacific and Caribbean coast, in the zip lining through the jungles, climbing volcanoes, swimming in their crater lakes, hanging out with new friends, having a good time, and meeting other people from all over the world in the evenings and exploring during the day. And I came back from that trip not like refreshed from having a 2 week vacation, but I came back like, wow, I really need to make some major changes in my life. Travel is something that I really want to integrate into my life. So I told both my jobs, I said, I'm out of here in a year. And I don't think they believed me. And I didn't even really have a game plan for being out of there in the year. I just knew that I really wanted to do some more traveling because I met some people on this trip that were traveling for weeks and years, which just blew my mind. I didn't even know that was possible. So about 6 months after that, I was having some drinks with my best friend and his wife one night, and they were talking about when they retire, they want to get an RV and do a 1 year road trip of the US. And I was like, why are you waiting to retire? Let's do this like now, as soon as possible. Let's do it. We had um they had pets, we both had houses and cars that we had to figure out what to do with, but we're like, let's set a date, let's save as much money as possible, let's rent out our houses, let's get an RV, let's do a whole year of the US. And worst case scenario, we come back, we just get our jobs back, or we start new jobs or whatever. So we did exactly that. We set a date, we saved up enough money not to work for that whole year. And then we set out on the road trip October 2017 for 1 year. And we did 23 states, and it was an absolutely epic experience. Seeing the US, just slowly, driving maybe 3 hours every 3 or 4 days. And we left in the fall and we went down to Florida and the Keys, and we tried to stay in the warm weather as much as possible through the winter. But in the end, we did 23 states in that 1 year. But about halfway through that 1 year, I started to realize like this thing is coming up. The end is coming up very quick. I'm loving the travels, but like I don't want to go back to working fast food and warehouse work. I'd just given up my seniority at UPS of 12 years. I would be starting over. Um, I could go back to either of those, but didn't want to. So I also have my real estate license. I had done a couple little bit of deals with helping find investors, rental properties and flips to do as a real estate agent. And I had a good friend, Lori. She was buying tons of houses and flipping them and building a portfolio of rental properties. So I called her. I said, "Is there any way I can help you build um, build your business by finding you deals while I'm on this road trip?" And she was like, "Absolutely. I'll take any help you can give me." So I ended up helping her buy like 20 to 25 deals on that last 6 months of the road trip. And that's when I realized, wow, I'm working just from my computer and my cell phone. That was, I was just hotspotting from my phone. This was before Starlink or any real good mobile Wi-Fi for the RVs. And I realized, wow, like I guess I'm a digital nomad now because I'm working, I'm doing deals, and I can do it from anywhere. So after that 1 year road trip ended, my friends went back to work, and I took a couple month pause, saw family and friends, and then I launched into doing 8 countries in 6 months, uh, doing deals in real estate, and that's when I was like the international side of my digital nomad journey started, was after that road trip. And ever since then, I've been traveling. I've been a digital nomad for about 7 years now, and fallen in love with a lot of places. I just was living in Bali for the last 6 months, and stopped off in Amsterdam on the way home. And right now I'm living on my sailboat. I'm here in Virginia in the summer. I'm a hybrid digital nomad, which is someone who splits their time between multiple locations. So every time it gets cold, I go somewhere warm, and then I'm home in the summertime on the sailboat. And just really enjoying the travels in the winter and being here during the summer.
Wow. You're living the dream life that many people listening probably wish they could live. Because I like how you talked about your friends and said, why are you waiting? And the reason I picked that out as the first thing I want to focus on is because 22 years of being a lifestyle coach and a financial planner for people, I help people goal set a lot. And I help them, budget and get their lives in order so that they can have what they want to achieve. And I hear that all the time. Oh, when we retire, we're gonna get a trailer, we're gonna truck, we're gonna get a motor home, we're gonna travel across North America. We're gonna,
Yeah.
go across Canada to go down to the States, and we're gonna do that. And I'll look at them and say, and this is over the years, obviously the answer gets a little bit more in depth because now I've got more history, more clients. And I'll say, I have a client that wanted that's what they wanted. They dreamed and they aspired, and I didn't push them. And they go, well, what do you mean you didn't push them? They passed away at 62. They didn't even hit retirement. They never got to do that dream motorhome trip, right? Passed away. The wife had to sold the motorhome because that was his dream. She liked doing it, but he did all the work, right? So she liked enjoying but he did all the physical. He was the person that was going out, and if you're gonna have supper, he's gonna be go out and get fresh fish for that night or whatever, right? And most people don't realize that life's in session. This isn't a dress rehearsal. So you looked at your circumstances, and your story was very well presented. You're a good storyteller because at the end of the day, many of the things I wanted to ask you were already answered, a good half of them from that story. There's more details I want, but the generalization of your journey and what frustrated you, what made you, you answered those questions, and it was amazing. So kudos to you to convince your friends to put in the effort and to step outside of your comfort zone. Listeners, people watching on YouTube, he stepped outside of his comfort zone, quitting a job of 12 years seniority. Come on.
Mm.
Like, this guy, Ryan, is somebody that you should aspire to want to know more and get help if this is the type of lifestyle you want. Right. And then to get into the real estate stuff and the realizations of, hey, I'm a digital nomad. Like that's just you've obviously told this story a few times, but you key on the right things. And that is important in being a good storyteller and building our brands. Because even being a digital nomad is a brand, right? You're presenting a form of a brand. It may not have a name that's specific to you, but at the end of the day, it's a journey and it's an adventure that you've stepped outside of your comfort zone. And even if it hadn't worked initially, I think you're a type of personality. Could you tell me, have you always been a tenacious person to when you put your mind to something, never give up until you succeed?
Yeah, yeah, I've always been kind of entrepreneurial, since I was a kid. I was like door to door selling things like out of magazines to housewives, candles and stupid trinkets, and to get points to get things at like things out of another magazine that you could get like a cool boat, like a small rowboat or something. And I had like a gumball. I had gumball machines when I was a kid, and my mom worked at the hospital, and so we got my gumball machines into the waiting rooms, and the place I took guitar lessons, they had my gumball machine in their music store. And so I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always been thinking outside of the box. Even though I did, like 10 years of two jobs and very corporate roles, 12 years at UPS, I can fit into that mold, but just being able to do my own thing and having that freedom has always been there. And now I have really the ultimate freedom because I have both location independence and I have financial freedom as far as income coming in to handle my monthly costs.
Right on. Who inspired you? Who inspired you? Was your family entrepreneurial based, or was there a friend, an uncle, aunt? Who is somebody that you can think of that you would think, well, that's pretty cool. Someday I want to be in business. Someday I want to be my own person. So taking it outside, being a digital nomad, was there anybody or maybe people that inspired you along your journey or even mentored you?
No one comes to mind, to be
Oh,
honest with
that's
you,
that's fine. That's
in the entrepreneurial part of it. I will say that for the travel part of it, reading the 4 Hour Work Week was a pivotal game changer for me.
how about your friend that reached out? You reached out and talked about the real estate in the last 6 months of your trip. Did
Yeah,
you did
yeah,
she inspire or help you at all in
absolutely,
regards to that journey?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. In the real estate journey, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I'm at today because not only did she helped me learn the ropes in real estate as I was working for her as an agent and she was in playing the investor role. I learned what the investor role looked like and I've transitioned into an investor. So I still have my real estate license. I do or a handful of real estate transactions as an agent now, but I own a portfolio of rental properties that covers my monthly expenses that I built over the
Congratulations.
years while still traveling 6 months out of every year. I built that portfolio up. Thank you. And got into wholesaling and helped her do a lot of transactions. So, yeah, seeing her journey and how much she built and the amount of time she built and the amount of wealth she built quickly was definitely inspiring and very helpful on that journey.
And at the end of the day, that is important, though, what you said. And it took you years. People listening and watching, truly stable entrepreneurships, no matter what it is, it takes time, it takes effort. You might skin your knee, you might put band-aids on, you might hit roadblocks that will slow you down. But you got to put time in the game. Did you have any major obstacles that happened to you that you're willing to share? And it doesn't have to be just being a digital nomad, just be on your entrepreneurship or your real estate, getting into digital nomad. Were there anything that really slowed you down, or was it just came naturally to you?
No, I mean, there's been at least like two to three times where I've almost just absolutely quit real estate. Where it just I was working and working and working, and it just wasn't paying off. It just I kept having headaches, having problems. I wasn't making as much money as I thought. I'd have deals that I put together and worked super hard on, and then they fall apart at the last minute. And as you know, in real estate, you only get paid when deals get done. So
My
you,
industry too, brother. I'm
yeah,
commission based too.
yeah, exactly. So you know how it feels to put a
Oh,
lot of energy into something and
oh,
sometimes they don't pay off. So there were many times where I almost gave up, but usually I will learn now looking back when I'm about to like want to just like break down in tears and give up. Usually I just need to give it 5% more and then something big is just right around that corner and then you get wind in your sails and you're off to the races and you're like, all right, we got this and you're up to the next level. So it's it's taken a lot of trial and error and then also just having that network around you. I did a lot of networking as a younger investor, making lots of connections, going to meetings, making making friends with people. I've been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years because when you get down and you're getting your teeth knocked in by a tenant, that terrible tenant or a contractor or something like that, you can call them up and just vent to them and they understand you and they can help get you out of that hole, right? Where maybe your friend who is not in real estate or um, maybe can't relate as easy and might not have the best advice for you.
So it's good to have a strong support network. I like to hear that from you. I like to hear, and yes, people, it does take time to build a network. Sometimes people can have luck on their side and be introduced into a network of very influential people. But luck does not solve that problem. You have to work on yourself, 6 inches between your ears to do, like you said, to have that extra 5%. Is there anything that you recommend that you've utilized or you continue to utilize to have that extra 5% so you don't quit?
I think it's really important to have the end goal in mind. Like what's the next level for you? What does that look like? Is it um is it a number? Is it a number of additional income in the bank that you want to get to? Is it for me a newer, bigger boat to live on when I'm home? Is it helping so many people transition or change their lives? Do I want to, how do I want to be traveling? You know, I started in hostels. Now I'm flying first class to places, you know. It's it's a very big difference from my first days backpacking and doing the cheapest possible thing to where I'm at now and living in Bali. And so it's just like, what's the next level? And just reminding yourself that, um, it's worth it and to keep going because, you need that to stay motivated. You need that to visualize what's next. And you need to always be growing because if you're not growing, you're dying.
Well, yeah, and at the end of the day, so many people don't realize that, they look back and you talked about the fact of looking back and you're backpacking, now you're first class traveling. And most people have a hard time goal setting for the future because they'll say, well, I can't envision that. Well, part of being a success is being able to visualize, being able to goal set and say, this is what I want. And no matter what happens, what challenges, I'm going to utilize my network for support. If I don't have that support for this because they're not part of that, I'm going to research it. It's always pushing ourselves past that little 6 inches voice between our ears that's going, oh, just sit back and relax. You don't need to push yourself, Ryan. What are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so were you a person that do you believe in gratefulness, gratitude exercises? Do you journal? Do you do any of that sort of stuff to help you?
I do all of that stuff. So I have a very
Good job.
regimented morning routine. So I do a meditation first thing in the morning, like after coffee, once I'm awake, so that I don't fall back asleep. So once I'm awake, coffee, meditation. I do gratitude. What am I grateful for in the last 24 hours? Has to be recent, so that I'm always framing um, recent events as gratitude and can't be the same things like every day. So you got to really dig and think. And then I do a visualization of where I see myself next, like in great detail, full color video, like Tony Robbins would tell you to do it. And I sometimes I'll listen to some very inspirational music that just really gets me amped as I'm listening, as I'm visualizing what's next. And that's a really good way for me to start my day. I feel pumped up for it. And then at the end of the day, I'll do some journaling and I'll write down some wins for the day so that I'm looking at, even if the whole day wasn't the best, we all have days that go sideways. We feel like we accomplished nothing, but there's always wins somewhere in your day. And so I do journal in the evenings as well.
Which is fantastic. I loved hearing that. I wasn't sure what the answer was going to be, but I was sure it was going to be, about pushing forward and always appreciating and along with that appreciation, pushing forward. People listening or watching, Ryan worked at a job where they controlled him, right? They controlled what he did. They purchased his time and he was a tool for them. Now Ryan is on his own. He's an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, because of what I can tell, you got more than one thing that's been going on. And the theme is when your time is your own time, what are you doing with that time? What are you associating with? Ryan listens to positive things. He does different things to, motivate, elevate himself with meditation, with gratefulness, with journaling. What are you doing? So you go to your job 9 to 5, and then you have free time after the fact. What are you doing with your free time? You can start out as a part-time entrepreneur, but you have to start somewhere. You have to be willing to sacrifice binge watching a show on Netflix or hanging out with the boys in the backyard, cracking a beer and just sitting and BSing and complaining about life. Instead, you need to be doing different things. Is your current associations and patterns getting you what you want? If not, rewind and listen to what Ryan does. Or if you're a loyal listener of the show, you've heard me talk many times about the importance of putting in effort to appreciate where you're at, to analyze. I don't know if how often you do it, but I'll do it throughout the day, especially at night. I'll think to myself, just like you were talking about, it has to be something current. And I'll think, let's say, for an example, tonight I'm laying in bed. I'm a Christian, so I'll say my prayers and then I'll start doing other things and be grateful. And I'll think, what did I really learn from Ryan today? What did Ryan teach me? What was Ryan's body language? Like I'll think about all of that, and I'll be thankful that you invested your time with me so that I could support and serve others along with your mission. So now our missions are overlapped because we just want to help people. Yes, we need money to survive. We need money to retire, to move forward in life. But if our mission is always to serve, I think it comes when we need it, right? I've been in that valley of despair you talk about where I was ready to quit, right? 22 years of doing what I've been doing. Prior to that, 10 years I owned a computer consulting firm and a retail store. I look at all that past and that control. When you're a true entrepreneur, whether you're a nomad, like digital nomad like you, or you can go to where the weather is warm, which sounds so exciting. I just love that. We have to realize that it takes sacrifice. And you're going to have months where maybe you don't have as much money as an entrepreneur. Yes, at your job, you have the same hamster wheel effect, go to work, go home, get paid. But do you have true freedom? And those that are working that job, if you're happy and you're listening to this show and you just wanted to learn about more about digital nomad, I'm not here to criticize you. You do you, I'll do me. So will Ryan. But at the end of the day, if you have that spark to want to be an entrepreneur, that spark to be a person that travels, you need to have people like Ryan in your life. If you're an entrepreneur and want help, obviously I coach and do lifestyle coaching for 22 years, so I can help as well. But in regards to doing it and being a digital nomad, there's always somebody that's an expert, right? And we got one right here on the show. We're blessed with that. So I appreciate what you've shared thus far. Ryan, did you have any form of imposter syndrome or limiting beliefs throughout your journey from starting that state trip to going international? Was there anything that really bothered you, or things that were said to you that made you believe you weren't what you were representing to the world?
Yeah, I think it's quite common. Even, starting as a real estate agent, or starting as a real estate investor and getting in that world and then networking with all these people that have already built huge portfolios and have done hundreds of successful deals and flips and wholesales, and they're lenders, and they're this, they're that, they're buying and selling notes, they're doing all the million bajillion different types of investing. I think that there was a quite a bit of time that took me, like, it's always like, fake it until you make it with all these things when you're starting out. Like, you've got to just get in and get the reps, and you've got to um, learn it. And it took me years. And it wasn't until I looked back and saw all the deals that I've done and all the properties that I've accumulated and the success that I've had till that imposter syndrome has faded. And then I start a new business, I get into coaching, and then you still come up against that same imposter syndrome. Even though I've helped people go from zero to digital nomads, but it's still something new. And until I've helped probably thousands, I don't think that will go away. And, it's just getting out there and trying to help more and more people. I've done it myself. I've been a digital nomad for 7 years. I know tons of digital nomads. And like you said, I'm an expert on the subject. I'm building a huge course right now that is extremely um, comprehensive, that people can do like a self um, transformation step by step with the modules and video course and worksheets. And so I'm really, the more that I put time and energy into this business, and the more I learn as I teach, that imposter syndrome fades. But I think it's something that all entrepreneurs deal with, and it just takes time to really for that to kind of fade.
Yeah, having belief in ourselves to get past that involves, for me, getting past that as I have to always, well, this didn't work today. I'm down in the valley of despair. I have to remind myself, well, yesterday wasn't like that. Last week wasn't like that, right? I can get back to that. I've
Yeah.
proved, I'm self-talk. I can accomplish anything. Look what I've done. Oh, so today sucked. This week sucked. This month sucked. Whatever. I know I've got the tools up here in my 6 inches, and I can do it. I can, positive self-talk isn't, people say it's poo-poo, but it's not. If I can't look at the mirror and I'd be happy with what I see and say to myself, you know what, I've had a bad day, but I'm still a winner. That took me years to get to the point where I liked seeing myself in the mirror. I don't know if you ever had that issue, but I did, right? I look at people like Jack Canfield. I was at a conference of his, and he was talking a lot about that. And he taught us mirror lessons that shouldn't last more than 2 minutes, just looking in the mirror and, you know, talking out loud to yourself. Holy goodness, that's uncomfortable when we want to stretch ourselves. And I,
Yeah.
I, I hear that from you. And that's a resounding theme of people that are entrepreneurs. They literally are willing to stretch, right, and grow and have that bad day. And they network. Back to what you said earlier, you have a network. We have to have a network. I have a network of people. I don't know if you have this, where I can reach out to them and say, I need to vent to somebody, just to listen. I need to vent and get some advice from you, right? And I have friends like that. They won't say crap, even if they agree or disagree. They'll just sit there and let me vent. Sometimes I'll tell them, I just want you to listen. And they'll say, at the end, they'll say, and maybe because I've vented, I do want advice now. And they'll say, do you want me to say something, or you just, the vent's good enough? And I'll say, you know what? Give her, go ahead, tell me what you think. And they'll help ground me to reality, back to reality. Sometimes we don't need it. It's not we need that. It's not because we are bitching and complaining about life and that we're negative. Sometimes we need to release that inner tension to get out of the valley of despair or stop us from falling into it. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think having a networking, having some support around you, other people that are doing similar things, when you're just getting down, and you can call them and get that extra boost, it's super important.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about being a digital nomad. Has there been any moment that has happened right from the start where you went on that tour with your friends over the states and then went to the countries and stuff, where that you were really tested mentally or emotionally? And if there's not, that's fine.
Yeah, I would say sometimes, I am a solo traveler. It can get lonely sometimes, if you don't put yourself out there and network as a digital nomad. Um, but there's ways of fixing that. Go to the co-working space, stay in a co-living space, um, go on group tours solo. There's a million ways to make friends when you're solo traveling. So I would say loneliness is something that a lot of solo digital nomads um, have some times where they go through that that is a little bit of a struggle. But I'm also an introvert, so it's one of those things that um, is nice because I can turn it off or turn it back on. You know, if I want to just be in my space and I want to um, just um, get work done, I can go back to my Airbnb and just do my thing. But if I want to be social, I can go to those events or go to that co-working space to meet people. So it's something that you can turn on and turn off. I would say that's the most common thing that comes up.
Is security ever an issue when you're a digital nomad? Do you ever feel, you ever had a circumstance or felt that, this is kind of unsafe? I'm staying in this hostel, I'm staying in this joint accommodation circumstance. And the reason I ask that, because I've had people ask me that before. Hey, do I've thought about doing this, but I'm kind of fearful. I've heard horror stories because of obviously people share negativity more than they share positivity. So what's your take on being a digital nomad and feeling safe?
Yeah, it comes up. I have many stories of situations that, that were less than desirable. But one that comes to mind is me and my ex-partner we were traveling together. And um, we were on a bus in Brazil that was supposed to be a 3-hour bus ride. And it was pouring down rain in the evening and it started to get dark. And what ended up to be a 3-hour bus ride. So what happened was there was a landslide that came down and washed out the road in front of us, like completely, like with boulders, knocked cars into the ocean, everything completely knocked out the road. So now we're stuck and we're still on this huge hill by the ocean. There's like the ocean to my right, us on the road, and this huge hill beside us with more land that can come down at any time. And so we tried to navigate backwards out of it, but there was traffic blockage. And then another landslide happened behind us. So now we're stuck in a bus in between two landslides, blocking us going forward and blocking us going backwards. And then the bus toilet stopped working. I don't think because they weren't expecting this to be like a long trip, right? The bus started leaking water in from the ceiling. It's coming in. Um, and my partner was the only other person that spoke English on the bus other than me. You know, they speak Portuguese in Brazil, and so that was a whole experience in and of itself. But long story short, they just shut down the bus. We spent the night on that bus in the storm in between the two landslides for like 21 hours. We had boarded the bus with like two beers, two waters, and a thing of Pringles because it was a 3-hour bus ride. And then in the morning, I had to go use the toilet out in the woods in the pouring rain. We had some locals that lived nearby saw that we were stuck. And one of the things you have to be worried about in some parts of Brazil is a bus full of people being immobile is a really good target for thieves just to come at gunpoint and just rob the whole bus. And what are you going to do? You're just stuck there. So there was always that worry in the back of your head. But luckily that did not happen. And in the morning we had locals come down actually with like almost like a gas can full of coffee and some bread, some slices of bread to give us some like food and coffee in the morning to get us through. And then eventually they got some equipment out there and made enough of a dent that we could continue to our destination. Well, continue on our journey. The 3-hour bus ride to our destination ended in a completely different place, like 21 hours later.
Wow.
So they just dropped us off at a different place, and we ended up getting a hotel there and staying there for like 3 days as it continued to pour down rain. But the whole country was experiencing landslides. So you do have things like that that just are out of your control and a little bit scary. But I would say overall, 99% of it, if you're smart about where you're going and knowing how to behave in foreign countries and where to be and where not to be, it's very safe and you find good people everywhere.
Well, that's good to hear because, let's be real, social media glamorizes being a digital nomad, and everybody's all this fluff and poof, and they don't really talk about the fact that you might be in a host, and you could be robbed. You could be,
Yeah,
because I know people, just travelers, not even digital nomads, that have been robbed in hostels. Every time my one daughter loves traveling, she'll have a double backpack in the front, on the back.
yeah,
They're huge, man. I was just like, as a little girl that can carry that crap? But anyway, she just, she just was in February. Her and her doctor boyfriend went to 3 weeks to Thailand and 1 week to Vietnam, and I'm just like
nice.
nervous dad because I know other people that have done the same stuff and had
Yeah,
challenges. She didn't have any
yeah,
challenges. So people listening, watching, you never know. That's the
yeah,
adventure of life, right? Are you an adventurer? Digital nomad
yeah,
lifestyle is going to be great. Like you said, 99% of it's fantastic. The odd time you run into a roadblock, but you can live in your own country, state, province, city, local community and have crap go on. So, right.
absolutely. Yeah, you can walk out your front door tomorrow and get robbed. So
Oh, and hit by a
nowhere is
bus.
safe. Yeah, nowhere is safe. So you might as well have some adventure along the way,
Oh
right?
my God. I wish I would have started sooner. I don't know if that's something you ever thought about. Like you said, you worked 12 years, I think, for UPS. I personally wish I would have started earlier, but I was a single dad. I'm still a single dad, but I was a single dad raising 5 kids full time. I eventually got full time custody of my kids. One was gone. I still had four, and I didn't have the time to travel. And I used to sit at home when my business was successful. I was raising my kids, and I'd long for travel. There was one period of time I hadn't been on a plane in over a decade. I hadn't gone anywhere. It just wasn't in the cards financially or time, mostly time wise. And I really wished I could have started sooner. Right. So, and the reason I bring that up and ask your opinion, there's people listening or watching that their dreams aren't being realized. They think that time is on their side, and really, time's in session. It's not on their side. What advice would you give
Yeah.
people to just carpe diem, to seize the day?
Yeah, I would say if you're interested, you need to just start today, start right now. Just make that decision that you're gonna figure out how to do whatever it is that you want to do. Fortune favors the bold. You're not gonna get get what you want just continuing your daily habits, and there's something amazing is going to change. You need to decide like what's that perfect day look like. What is it? Are you a digital nomad? Are you traveling? Are you living the dream that you want? And then figure out how to get there. So I always when I'm coaching people, I always start with their perfect day. What does that look like from the time they wake up till the time they go to sleep? And we figured that out in great detail. And it's good to keep them motivated towards that goal when, like you said, when things get tough and we want to give up. But also just having and visualizing. There's a lot of power in visualization to help connect the dots somehow in the universe when you're working towards a goal. So
Um, Absolutely. So, in your experience, when people want that type of freedom, and you find out what their perfect day is, what's a common mistake or mindset block that you find with people that stops them from being able to fulfill that perfect day?
yeah, I think money comes up a lot. I don't think I have enough money for it. Travel's expensive. I don't have a remote job right now, or my job that I'm doing doesn't doesn't, it's not a computer job. So how am I going to work remotely if I'm, you know, a plumber, right? Which is totally understandable, right?
Well, there's certain things that
So
don't fit the mold.
just, just, it's not. But
Mm.
the thing is that you have done jobs or you have schooling or you've raised children or you have life experiences and you have built a lot of skills. So I help people after we know like what their perfect day looks like and they have these hangups. We can use those skills to get them into a new career or a new into
Pivot.
something like
Yeah.
freelancing, pivoting, yeah, with the skills that they already have, and just also just showing people how inexpensive it is. So like for example, like if you're making you're coming from a country that like the US, for example, that where you're earning US dollars, it has a um high income in general, high cost of living, and then you go and travel places that have a very low cost of living, you need a whole lot less to travel and live in those countries than you do to live at home. So it's actually a lot more inexpensive than people think. And so just getting the nitty gritty and getting those budget numbers and how much it actually costs to live and travel in a foreign country, I think that's definitely something that people don't realize. They think we're all just rich and we make a lot of money and that's how we travel. But it can be done way less expensive than living at home.
I love the fact that you brought up. I was going to ask this, but again, our conversation is just great. It's just flowing perfectly, in my opinion. You talked about the fact of people being in one career, and and I mentioned that it doesn't fit the mold, but you added something that I really liked. Okay, well, you want to be a digital nomad? What skills do you have? Let's figure it out how you can be a digital nomad, how you can live that current career you're in. Maybe you're miserable at that career, or you're a current business owner and you don't want to do that anymore. So it is possible, right? It is possible for people to pivot into the
Absolutely.
lifestyle if they really wanted. Would you say there's, and I know what answer I'd say, but I want to know what your answer is. Is there a perfect age range for a perfect person to be a digital nomad, or do you think it's possible for somebody that's in their 60s, for an example, let's say they retire early and they just want to, they can consult or they can contract out their experiences, but they still want to work, but they want to travel. Do you see there being an age issue?
No, not at all. I have clients of all ages. I would say a majority of clients are like 25 to 40. But I
Okay.
do have people that are in the retirement age and they want to travel, but maybe they don't want to just be on the beach all day doing nothing. They need that sense of purpose. They need something to do during the day, maybe part time. I just interviewed someone on my podcast last week. Her and her husband are sailing their sailboat in the Mediterranean and she got a job. They don't need the money. They have retirement money and they're living frugally on their sailboat, but she works 10 to 15 hours a week as a virtual assistant to keep her mind busy and she loves it and it gives her purpose and it helps bring an extra income in. And she says she can't understand how she could do without it. She couldn't just do the boat life and not have something to do during the day, you know? So, and I totally get that. I don't think that I could 100% retire and just have nothing to do all day. I think I will always still be doing something part-time, whether it's helping people with coaching or staying somehow involved in real estate. Um,
I
I
love that.
totally get that. So it's for anybody. Anybody can do it, any age. It's not too late to start.
I love that because my book is Give a Heck How to Live Life on Purpose and Not by Accident, right? So intentful living and purpose is something you plan out long term too, because even into retirement, I'll say to people, well, now what are you going to do? Okay, so you're going to get the motorhome. Are you going to do this? Are you going to do it yearly? Are you going to travel and live out of it? Are you going to sell your home? What are you going to do? And and then I talk to some of them that do that, and they're bored senseless because their purpose was always their work. right?
Yeah.
And I'll say to them, why did you quit doing that? Well, you think about it, societal pressures and what we're taught. You got to go to work, go home, get paid, work for 40 years to retire on 40% and hopefully last 20 years before you die, right? Like, where's the adventure in that? I like the idea. I'm going to work. People laugh at me, Ryan. I say to them, I'm going to work till the last day I take a breath. And they'll go, why would you want to do that? How are you enjoying life? Because my purpose is to help people live on purpose and not by accident, because I used to be that person. And sometimes I still am. But I've got so many tools in my arsenal and so many great networks and mentors and supporters that I don't want to miss that. Why would I want to just shut that off and go into retirement bliss? And people wonder why, some people don't live long and some people do. I look at their lives, what they did, and how driven they are still in retirement. Are they still fulfilling a need? If they're a person like that lady you mentioned, she wants to still fulfill a mission. She wants to help other people, whether it's VA or whatever it is. I can do my business anywhere in the world, and I have. I was in people will laugh at this. 2023, I was in Rome, right? And I was,
Nice.
and I flew there. I flew to London actually. I spent 3 weeks in Europe, and I had a buddy of mine that owns a business. He's Hawaiian. He flew in. We've met at conferences. We just became close friends. We've traveled before together. Flew into London. We spent the next 3 weeks going between uh, the UK. We went to Portugal. We went to Spain, Italy. Like we had a blast. But I'm in Rome, and he's going to bed. It's around 11 o'clock at night. He says, aren't you going to bed, man? We got a big day tomorrow. We're going to the Sistine Chapel. We're doing all this stuff. I said, yeah, I do, but I got stuff to do, right? I got things to do. I told you that's why I was, because man, oh, yeah, all my laptop all around Europe. But hey, whatever. 11 o'clock at night, he comes out
Yeah.
because I'm sitting in this kitchen area, this Airbnb in an older part of Rome, because I wanted to be in the thick of it. I didn't want to be in the touristy part. And he goes, you're still up. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, yeah, aren't you tired? I said, a little bit. What are you working on? And so he sat beside me and I'm showing him the stuff I'm doing because I did all the booking of Airbnbs. And I'd reach out to them and say, I need to have good quality Wi-Fi. I don't need cheap, shitty
Mm,
Wi-Fi. It has to be good because
yeah.
I'm at that point in time, really. So I'm not a full-time digital nomad, but I'm a digital nomad for 3 weeks. I need to take care of stuff.
Yeah.
Client reaches out to me. I just respond to them. I can't today, right? But I can in this time frame, and I'd be honest with them. I'm always right. I'm on a holiday right now, but I can still take care of your needs. I've got access to everything, but time restrictions are going to affect things. And I did stuff, right? I've done that for years. I've done stuff in different states in the U.S. I laugh. Even when I was in Greece and I met up with a bunch of group of people, I flew into Greece for 2 weeks. Same thing. What are you doing? We're going to go to the pool. I got to go back to the room. Why? Well, I got to do a couple things for some clients. Well, you're on holidays, so I enjoy what I do. It
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't take
Love
away
it.
from the fact that I'm on a journey, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about mindset, right?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
right. So I've had lots of fun, not to the level you have. I'm in my later 50s and I love it though, right? If somebody wants to travel and they'll say to me, well, how soon can you travel if we discuss things like how do you have to let people know? No, I'm independent. I'm a self-employed. I run my own brokerage. I can do what I want. I just let a couple people know, and in a week from now, I can bye bye. Let's go. Where do you want to
Yeah.
meet?
That's
What are
awesome.
we doing? Right? Oh,
How
gotta
many
bring the
other people
laptop.
can take, yeah, how many other people can, go to Europe for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, Um, especially in the US with the vacation that we get here, it's, 1 or 2 weeks tops and that's it. And oftentimes they don't let you take it consecutively. So,
You're right.
that you being able to be able to do that is huge.
I I was in it was another evening in I don't know where we were in Italy. Maybe we're in I don't know, maybe we're in Milan. I can't remember. And my podcast went live in North America, and I had to post it up a snippet. And my buddy goes to me because this was an earlier evening. We decided to have lighter evenings, so I didn't have to stay up late to do it. And I'm working on this podcast stuff, and I go to post it up, and I'm sitting there, and he's sitting and we're drinking what's it, limoncello? Is it limoncello? I can't remember what that stuff's called. Interesting stuff. I'm shooting the stuff, and I'm going, holy crap! He goes, what? Come over here. And I posted just a reel about a podcast, and then and the views and likes were going up. It was all of a sudden it was at 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, right?
Wow.
And all these likes. And he goes, holy crap, man. And I said, yeah, dude, we're in Italy and this is happening across the ocean. And he just starts laughing. Wish I could do my business that way, because he owns a company that does vinyl, like not just
Okay.
vinyl wraps, but he does like, he could come in and do these kitchen cupboards. He could wrap your, he could change,
Okay. Yep.
he can do all this. What do they call that? Industrial. I can't, anyway, can't really do that as a digital nomad. Right. And when we were in Europe for that 3 weeks together, he's trying to deal with his stuff on his phone with his staff that are doing jobs and stuff. And I thought, geez, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
worry about clients because I care about them. But at the end of the day, they know me. They're gonna get taken care of. Unless it's 911, I don't care where I am in the planet. I'm picking up my laptop. I'm gonna make sure I have good Wi-Fi, and you and I are gonna deal with one another, and I'm gonna help you. What? Who cares if I'm sitting in Rome right now and we're doing this?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? You're in Virginia, you said. So,
Yeah.
right? Isn't the power of digital technology and the digital nomad lifestyle? It excites me. That's what I want for my retirement. I want to be months on end in different countries, or I'm just sitting, I'll work in the morning. I have a friend of mine, they're in their 60s. They work in the morning, and then by noon, done. Rest of the afternoon and evening is her husband and her life. He doesn't work anymore
Right.
at all. He care less, but she needs to have that
Yeah.
fulfillment. That fulfillment, isn't that the
Yeah.
right word? To feel fulfilled.
I think it's a little different for everybody, but yeah, fulfillment or purpose or just to keep you, sharp and keep you thinking and um keep you happy, really. It's everyone's wired a little bit differently, but I think it's a good thing, you know.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I got a couple more things. We're going to wrap up the show. Ryan, this is something that a lot of people don't realize, but in order to succeed in life, you have to have something to hold on to. So, what would you say? What would be one final message that you would tell my listeners, my viewers, to inspire them to truly give a heck about their lives and to never give up, no matter what obstacles they face?
I would say that you only get one shot at this life that we know of for sure. So like make it happen. Do everything you want to do, and tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Absolutely, it's not. Like I say to people all the time, life's in session. This isn't a dress rehearsal. Um, you know, taste the food, drink the drink. Like, I'm not saying be an alcoholic, but if you want to try something, right?
Yeah,
Don't always be that meat and potatoes type of person, that North American
yeah,
mentality where we eat the same thing all the time. Carpe diem, seize the day, go out and try new things, take that risk. I told myself years ago I'd never be a single traveler, that I'd never go out and do stuff. I'm not to the same level as you. I've never stayed in a hostel or anything like that, but just being able to jump on a plane and fly to different locations to speak in the US over the years, or go to conferences, or go around the world to travel in the last decade. I never ever thought I'd do that. But like you said, you can meet great people, and then because of that,
absolutely.
I've met great people at different events, and now I fly and I meet groups of people. Right?
Right,
We're
right. You
still,
got friends
yeah,
all over.
all over the place. Right? I've literally had people meet up with me from the US, or I meet them at different things, and we'll have just a retreat event where it's not even really, it's just us getting together to hike and to do different things, whitewater rafting, all this different, you know what I mean? It's a community of people that don't live in the same community. They live on a global
Yeah,
community, and they're not
yeah,
afraid to meet up with one another. And Like I'll meet up with a group. People say, well, you probably spend your whole time with your group. You're not really traveling by yourself. No, I always plan days where it's just me.
Yeah.
Even the group that I've traveled to, there's 4 other people I met up with in Greece. For 2 weeks, I had 3 different days where I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go do this. I've already got it planned. Can one of them of the 3 days, the group says, oh yeah, can we come? Sure, not a problem. But most of the time they wanted to go sit at the pool or go to the beach. That's not my life. I'm not against anybody that does that. I like adventure. I like art. I like history. I like museums. I like hiking. You know what I mean? Life's too short just to sit at the pool for me. Right?
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Right on,
Love
brother.
it.
So our time is up. I want to respect our listeners and your time, brother. What's the best way that people can reach Ryan?
Yeah. So thedigitalnomadcoach.com. I'm also the Digital Nomad Coach on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And I have a podcast, Digital Nomad Nation. So if you want to get inspired by hearing other people's stories who became digital nomads, who have overcome various different things and do very different jobs, and their story and how they got started and where they travel are also different. So it's a really great place to get inspired as well.
Right on. For those new to the Give a Heck podcast, go to giveaheck.com. Go to the top, hit on podcast. You'll go in and you'll actually see a picture of Ryan, and you'll be able to read the show notes. They're detailed show notes. I'll make sure all the links are in there for his social media, his website, so you can easily access them. So you don't have to pull over and write this down. What he just said. Just go to the website and you'll be able to access. And plus, there's also chapter summaries about the show in there, as well as I also include the full unedited transcript because, sadly, strangely, happily, whatever you want to look at, some people like doing that. I know myself, I'm an audible person. I'd rather not have to read a show, but hey, if that's you, I give it all, right? I appreciate you being on, brother. Any last closing message before I wrap up the show?
Get out there and book that plane ticket and go see the world. If there's any way I can help you, I'm here.
Yeah, you bet. I appreciate you being on the show, Ryan, and sharing some of your experiences so that others too can learn. It is never too late to give a heck. Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.